Now, you played a real person, obviously, Corey Wise's trans sister, and she was killed. But you
Yeah.
feel as later that when you were in the shelter back in the day,
Yeah.
that you actually knew her sister.
See, this is the thing. You be really knowing everything. So yeah, when I was homeless, I used to go to a place called The Door. It was like an organization that people up to 21 can come into. Well, you age out at 21, and I had just turned 21. So they was like, say you're 20. So I went there, and it's like they had little kiki balls, and then they had computers for, it wasn't just LGBT, it was anybody. But a lot of LGBT people came there because throughout the day at Ali Fournay, when you're in the emergency section, you have to be out during the day. Like, you can't be there because they really want to encourage you to get a job and to be active. So during the day, a lot of us would go to The Door because it was somewhere you can be at during the day, and they would also feed you. So I used to go there, and there would be like kiki balls, and I remember Vanity, who at the time was just like drag or like would get dressed up to Vogue. And I remember her because she was such a good Voguer, like such a good Voguer. And I just remember her, and she was always so sweet. Fast forward all these years later, that was literally, that was before Top Models. That was like 2007.
Wow.
So fast forward, after it came out, Vanity reached out to me on Twitter and said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but thank you for just, doing my sister justice, X, Y, and Z. And I looked at that, and I feel like in passing, someone told me that there ended up being another trans sister. But I didn't really think about, of course, how would I think about something like that?
Right.
So I was like, wait a second. And I knew her right away because her name was so distinctive. And then I saw her pictures, I was like, what are the chances? And I think it really gave me a chill in my body because I was like, wow, I feel like in a way, I was supposed to have this connection and do this.
Yeah, it's like there's some kind of meant to be moment.
Yeah, it was kind of freaky.
Yeah.
It was kind of freaky, I can't lie. And then when I looked at her and thought about what Vanny looked like back then and looked at her now, I was like, oh wow, and she looks like a woman version of Corey. Like, they have the same eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally see it. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Now, you got to work with Jerome and really be right there as he was giving an Emmy-winning performance.
Yeah.
What did you learn from working with him, and what were some of your favorite moments?
He always liked to say, this is before he got his Emmy, he always liked to say, you're here because of me, right? I'm just like, here we go, because there was another girl, and we did have to do a chemistry, make up like a handshake and all of that. And I'm just like, here you go. I remember seeing, another funny story, I remember seeing him on Moonlight. And he reminded me of me at that age before I transitioned, and this guy that was kind of DL that I was talking to at the time. And I remember watching that in the movie theater. It was when I moved to LA. And I remember tearing up like, oh my gosh, I remember that was me and such, who since passed away from a motorcycle accident. But I was like, wow, that reminded me so much of us. And then when I saw him who was going to play it, I was like, oh wow, we look alike. Like, I have to get this role. So then when I end up working with him, I'm like, wow, it's crazy like how that connection, and he was so goofy on set, and I'm so goofy, and Niecy is so silly. And they were already established, and I'm getting hot. They were already established in who they were on the show, in the project. And I feel like I was just coming in shorter amounts, so I was like, no plan. Y'all can't throw me off. I need to focus because I need to show Ava in these small clips that I'm the real deal, So they would be playing around. I remember we did the jail scene, and Jarrell's acting really goofy. And I'm so goofy, and it's hard. It's easy for me to lose focus. So I'm trying to get into the moment, the emotional moment, and he's acting goofy, and then Ava's like, okay, go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, because he jumped right back into it because he's been doing it for so long already. And I'm like, damn you, don't joke. He used to scare me on set and stuff. We really, really grew a bond, and that was so awesome because he's so talented, and he deserved it. And I was so happy, considering we got snubbed in so many other categories. I was so happy that he got it because he really did deserve it. And when I went back and watched the video or the interrogation of Corey and then watched Jarrell's interpretation, it was so spot on. The attention to details from him and his mannerisms and his voice, and then also the detail that Ava put into the scene was just remarkable.
Yeah. Now, your real emotional scenes took place in the prison. We were chatting before the show. Was that easier to delve up all the emotions you had to do because you dealt with your own issues with family in prison and the pain that that's brought?
So as far as prison, let's clarify that.
Sure.
So I was telling you, this glass reminded me of prison. So,
Right.
Growing up, since all the way up until the age of 21, I saw my father, who's now passed away. I saw my mom's first husband, my uncles, my cousins, one of my brothers. Like, I've seen all of them in prison. And just thinking about the prison system and how it does black men so wrong in general, it's tough. It's tough to be a part of a project where it does personally affect me, because I have a lot of friends, even who are black, who never been to a prison to visit anybody. And I'm just like, oh, wow, most of it, except for one memory of my father, all the memories I have of my father as a kid was visiting him and putting my hand up to the glass. So I'm used to it, and it's sad. And although I didn't know his character while he was in that scene, I think it was kind of easy to have that connection in that moment, because I know how it feels to like miss somebody and have to visit them through glass, and it sucks. What was the other part of your question? It was just like, ooh.
That was it. I mean, it was you did. I figured that would be something you could tap into.
Yeah.
And you use it, obviously, because you gave such a beautiful performance.
Yeah, my brother, when I was actually, right when I came off of Top Model, I went and visited my brother who was in prison at the time, and he never really saw the show because he was in prison at the time. And yeah, you know, thinking about showing up in this prison cell with my little brother who's dealing with this stuff all by himself, it's tough.
Yeah. Let's lighten the mood and talk about the fun that you had after the show was nominated for so many awards.
Yes.
Emmys, GLAAD, Critics' Choice, SAG Awards. Honey,
the GLAAD Award one is coming up because it got canceled, and now I think it should be coming up soon.
Now you were able to finally get on that red carpet in a bigger way than ever. This is where your modeling past came out so you could shine on that red carpet. Tell me about the fun and excitement of when the show was nominated, and then all the experience of going to the awards.
It was, okay, so I went with the president of GLAAD. It was emotional because I feel like we were a shoo-in, and the feedback and everything. And I never went to one, and I'm not usually like, oh, we just go, it doesn't matter, you know, it's not like that. It's not like it's me, everybody kept saying it. So we're sitting there, and when we didn't win, I was just like, well, can I go now? Can I go home? Like, I don't want to go to after parties or anything, like, I want to go. And I'm just like, oh, wow, this is what it feels like in that moment, because even the whole audience, and you feel the vibe of the energy of the audience, and everybody, it felt like everybody was like, oh, you know, it was one of those gasps, and I was even like, oh, huh? You know, and then Jarrell brought it back home, which was awesome because, you know, everybody got to shout out the exonerated 5 and Ava and everybody. So we still had that moment, but it was weird. You know, it was weird for me because it was also my first time, and to be a part of possibly the biggest project of the night, or one of the biggest projects. So I remember at the after party, what was it called? The Governor's Ball? I think? I went there, and I remember seeing Ava, and she was like, she put me in my place. She put me in my place. I saw her at the table, and I was like, hey, she's like, how are you? She's like, what's wrong? I was like, you know, because we didn't win. She was like, fix your face. She was like, it's okay. And, you know, it was like a parent moment, almost like, you know, no, none of that. Fix your face. We're here to celebrate. And I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. You know, it was more so for her. I just feel like she deserved it, you know. But throughout, we ended up getting so many other prizes and awards. And I know it really isn't about the award. I think that it had such a big impact around the world. It got so many conversations started. And who would have thought that it would be a year, almost to the day, that it came out to where the protests start. It was so, the timing was crazy, and I just think that this was a project that everyone should see. And I was just so thankful overall to be a part of something so impactful. Yes, a big project, but also something that really get a conversation started. And it also got such a big conversation started within our community and talking about parents maybe turning away their trans children, especially Black trans children. I think that I've heard so many conversations and so many parents saying like, wow, this really made me think about it. And I think that was so impactful because Ava didn't have to include the storyline.
Right.
And even the part of when Jarrell character, Corey, saw his sister after she passed in the corner, Ava added that later. Ava called me and said, you know, I really want to see you glamorous. I want to see you as an angel. We're going to add that. We're going to glam you up. We're going to put in your makeup in your hair. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, finally,
I'm
my
like,
moment.
yeah. I'm like, yes, Ava. And then when we got there in the moment, and I think maybe, if I'm not mistaken, someone else had just died. And I remember in that moment, I was just kind of frozen, you know, like as a character. I was like, ooh, glamorous. And when I got there, it was intense to see Jarrell look. Like, it was going to make me emotional again. It was a really intense moment, and I just think that it was important. It's important to see trans people as humans, and I think that in that moment, even in passing, you got to just see her and see that her brother really loved her, and he needed her. And he always looked to her for happy moments, and I think to just show us in that light, a positive light, was just so powerful. And it was also so sad.
Yeah. A really important piece. I know, luckily we have Hey Qween branded tissue right here, don't worry,
Thank you.
that I will, hold on, wipe down right now for you, Miss Isis, okay?
I'm like, I'm glad that this is on this side where like they can't see.
Here you go, sweetie,
the,
freshly done right there, okay.
where they can't see the, you know, the streaks in my makeup, hopefully. Hopefully the beat is so good.
The beat is so good.
And I broke one of my nails, so I'm trying to hide that from the camera too while I do this. Oh, so much going on.
Well, you should be really proud of what you've done being part of the project. And it really was an important story to tell, especially at this time in America. And the fact that there was a storyline about a trans woman involved, also extremely important. I can't stress enough how important it is for us as queer people to protect our own. Yeah. Especially the magical resource of the trans women.
Yeah, I think when you have representation, we always say more representation of us on TV really just normalize us. Most times we don't know someone who's trans, and the only time we see them is on TV. So I think just having that representation is important because it could literally help someone learn more and potentially save our life. Not potentially, it will save lives.
Yeah. Isis, you've turned it so fiercely, honey. It's time to go back to the ballroom because you snatched the trophy, sweetie! Yeah! It will be cleaned and disinfected and delivered to your dressing room. And even though we can't have them here in person, sweetie, you've also gotten yourself a digital lap dance. Hit it! Oh, there he is. He's saying hi to you. He's working it. That's right. Imagine that he's here, Miss Isis. Work it and work. Oh, she's getting it around.
You know, last time I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
This time I'm ready.
Yeah, that's right, Isis. Oh, look, she's giving him money and he's shaking that booty. Isis, you're always one of my faves. So gorgeous, so sweet, so happy for you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Isis isn't going anywhere, honey. She's going to stick around and play Look at Her. So you don't want to miss that. And we'll see you next time on Hey Qween. Bye, baby. Children,